So what I'm going to talk about today, I've been giving these talks the last few months on these teachings from the Tibetan tradition. I'm trained in Tibetan Buddhism, and an important teaching that the Tibetans practice is called Lojong, which is mind training. And mind training, these mind training teachings were actually every practice. You're training your mind. Meditation, you're working with your mind, so you're training, right? But these specifically are compiled short little pithy verses that this Indian monk Atisha brought to Tibet, and this Tibetan monk Chikawa Yeshe, he wrote them down and compiled them into 7 points, the 7 points of mind training. And in those 7 points, there's 59 of these little pithy slogans, maxims, to kind of help us just to remember, remember our motivation, our intention in practice, in Buddhist practice. And all these slogans really are about bodhicitta. Bodhi is open, right? Awake, bodhi, and citta is heart, mind. In India and in Asia, in Tibetans as well too. If you ask one of them, "Where is your mind?" they'll say, "Here." If you ask a Westerner, "Where's your mind?" "Here." They say here. So for the Asian, India and Tibetans, and the mind and the heart, not different. And we can kind of look into that. Sometimes they say, we're really up in our head and trying to make a decision, and someone will say, "Follow your heart." Right? Follow your heart, your intuition. So there's something going on. There's something different. That's not intellectual, not like the mind, pros and cons, putting it together. Eventually, you follow your heart, your instincts, your intuition. So this is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta that's what this mind training is, that cultivating bodhicitta and openness, an open mind, open heart, and also disassembling the ego, kind of like, this kind of breaking that down, this sense of self-importance, self-reference, which is the second noble truth. There's a cause of suffering. That's the self, this idea of a self that sees everything and I want it, craving, aversion, based on I, me. So these teachings, these slogans are meant to help us dismantle the self and open up more and more bodhicitta, more bodhicitta. And I'm on the 6th point of mind training. So I've been doing it for a few months now. And this is the 6th point is the commitments of mind training. So the 6th point lists 15 precepts of mind training. So these are, the commitments that we make. As we're already at the 6th point, so we've kind of studied, we've gone through 5 points already, many of these little pithy instructions. So at this point here, now it's like, okay, your commitments, your disciplines, this is up to us. So if you want to engage with this is your commitments. This is what you have to abide by, So, we're in the 6th point, which focuses on, like I said, the commitments and the disciplines. And I'll go through 3 slogans from here. This is actually slogan number 24, 25, and 26. So the first one is the advice is change your attitude but remain natural. And this book, this translation here, this commentary is from my teacher, so I'll read real quick what he had to say. My late teacher, he passed away in 2014. So the verse is, change your attitude but remain natural. He translates it as remaining natural, transform your attitude. So he says, the normal attitude of living beings is selfishness. Transform your attitude means you should not be selfish. At the same time, don't show off your efforts to change. How you care for others need not be displayed for everyone to see. you should neither show how you have changed nor how good you are at it. And he says that is the way of charlatans, kind of showing off. So changing our attitude, what does that mean? Change your attitude but remain natural. Our attitude, right, makes me think of like when my mom would scold me, you better change your attitude. You better have a good attitude, I don't like that attitude. Don't talk back to me like that, and then we're like, grumble away, So this attitude is really based on self, again. This self, I don't like this, I want it to be different. What about me? Why did he get it but not me, So that attitude, again, this is self-cherishing attitude, this self-reference, always here, me, So changing our attitude is to, you could say to have a positive attitude, have a better attitude about things, right? But even that sometimes, if we really look closely, if someone says, just relax, have a positive attitude about it. Okay, all right, I'll have a positive attitude, and you do something nice, you bring food for a homeless guy, and he says, I didn't order chicken, I don't want that, and then you're like, and you get angry, So that means that attitude of thinking positive, doing something positive was based on self, right? Self-interest, expectation, right? So even a positive attitude, okay, think positive, everything will be okay, and then you didn't get the job. See, I told you that doesn't work. Again, that attitude was based on self-interest, me. So changing your attitude is to, again, bodhicitta, going back to this bodhicitta, open up, don't stay stuck in this self-reference. What about me? Change your attitude. Really think of others. What if we can think of others? Our attitude is to think of others first. Really doing that, genuinely, thinking of others first. And if we can do that and remain natural, it's just being our natural way of just being, right? Opening the door for someone, letting somebody cut in. On the way over here, there's a lot of traffic, and I noticed myself just kind of, somebody wanted to get in, I would just kind of take my foot off the pedal, naturally. My habit before was probably oh no, you don't, and speed up, I think a lot of us probably do that. But, the person I let in, again, this natural without showing off, they don't know what, I'm not going they didn't even wave. They didn't even roll their window down and go, thanks. They just, it's just a very natural, after you. Change your attitude, but remain natural. Yeah, so, and the tip for this practice is this attitude adjustment, it's when you notice your attitude turning inward, fixating on yourself, give it a gentle nudge and turn it outward to include others. Don't punish yourself for your selfishness or give yourself a gold star for your altruism. Simply apply the advice, the slogan, and move on. Change your attitude, remain natural. So it doesn't mean we have to walk around being goody-goodies or trying to just be natural, remain natural, but change your attitude. And that takes noticing, right? As you said, that takes noticing, observing. Oh, look at that habit, Yeah, you might have opened the door for somebody, changed your attitude, and they walked out, and they didn't even say thank you. Notice, that's not natural. It's not just a flow of openness. And it doesn't mean you have to sit there and wait at the door for anybody who's coming. You can walk through, Just walk through. I've noticed, when I've gone to places sometimes, and I just do that, I'll open the door, and then one person goes in, another person, then I'm like, oh, I'm now a doorman. Yeah, but there's a sense of humor about it. And it's natural. You just hold the door open, and people are walking through until someone they notice, they observe, oh, this guy's been here for about 10 minutes holding this door open, you know? Now they have bodhicitta after you, and now they transform into the doorman. You know? So it's very natural, just this flow of just openness, being open. So yeah, the advice, just notice that. And don't be hard on yourself if you said, oh man, I was a little selfish there, you know, what about me? Just notice that. Don't create and perpetuate a more habit of suffering, like, oh, I did it again. It's like, listen to how we speak. I did it again. Who? Look at the observer, you know? That's a practice that after some time, that's the instruction. Now turn the light around, turn the flashlight on. Who's observing? Who noticed? You know? Who noticed? So let's see if we can change our attitudes and remain natural, you know. And the next slogan or commitment practice is, it says, don't ponder others. Don't ponder others. Or as my teacher says, do not talk about the defects of others. In your speech, do not make fun, tease, or bring attention to what you see as a physical defect or a handicap in others. So my teacher is very simple, you know. Well, actually, I think I read the wrong one. Oh well, that was the last one. Which both of them are kind of the same. The previous one is don't talk about injured limbs. Again, you know, just kind of talking about other people, you know, kind of. And that takes noticing and observing, you know, our own behavior, our own, how we're going through life, you know. You know, I noticed that this week, you know, with this certain individuals getting in trouble with the government. And I see them, you know, in my deluded mind, I see this person as a troublemaker, causing a lot of trouble, you know. And there's some truth to that, I'm sure, you know. But I'm fixated on that, you know. And I kid around and, you know. It's funny because I really work on not like being like, oh, good, you're going, you know, good for him, get him, you know, it's like, but I still kind of humorously, you know, make a joke or this and that, you know. But then I noticed, like, you know, as I was preparing for this, reading that, I'm all like, yeah, I'm doing that, you know. I'm pondering on others' defects or talking about injured limbs, you know, in a sense, even in a humorous way, justifying it with humor, you know. And I noticed and observed that. And I said, oh, okay, interesting, the habit. What did I do? Was I hard on myself and say, you know, turn in my Buddhist badge, you know, I can't do this, it's too much? No, I just noticed and, okay, let's work on refining what I'm training, you know, noticing that habit, right? And noticing if it's a strong habit or maybe it's just very light and humorous. I'm a pretty humorous guy. I like to poke fun and joke around and things like that. And I also enjoy getting poked at and made fun of, you know. But it's really interesting to notice just what's going on, you know. So with these two, the advice for these are, for the don't talk about injured limbs. So like I said, this is, you know, means not to make fun of others or draw attention to their defects, you know. This slogan is great because most of us have people in our lives with such big defects we can't see past them. Think of a person you are embarrassed to be around, whose flaws are obvious. See if you can expand your attention so that you can see past that person's defects, you know, and past your reactions and ideas about those defects to the person themselves, you know. Even the word defects, you know, you're kind of solidifying something, you know, labeling it as a defect. But somebody else might see it as a virtue, as something that they enjoy, right? That's interesting. So inherently, there is no defect. The defect is in our mind, how we perceive it, based on, again, I see a defect because it doesn't align with how I want it to be, But the advice is, go past that, even say, what's a defect? It's just, and I've experienced that, able to just kind of go past that and just see and have some compassion, even seeing like, oh man, they're in a lot of trouble, and have some compassion. And that kind of is a gauge of like where we're at, if we're able to have that openness, Maybe we had like certain ideas about an individual that we don't like, but when they're, when they're harmed or when they're hurt or something's bad's happening to them, if we can see that our response changes to compassion, to like, oh wow, that means there's something going on, that the practice is working. What we're learning is working on us. We're not celebrating that this person is now in trouble, And then the next slogan, which is basically the same, don't ponder others, The tip, the advice on that is, as you go about your day with the people you encounter, pay attention to what comes up in your mind. Pay particular attention to the qualities of comparison mind and fault-finding mind. What is the difference between simply seeing a flaw and dwelling on it, or using it to prop yourself up? So that kind of speaks to relativity, relative. Yeah, there is, I don't have a defect, but there's people do things that we see as wrong, right? As I said earlier, inherently there's no defect, inherently there's no right or wrong, it depends, right? But as collectively, we kind of have a sense of value of like what's moral conduct, what helps, and what's harmful conduct, right? Or conduct, So that's relative. So we do have that. We can't dismiss that, But the tip is that for us as practitioners, can we, see what becomes an obstacle when it's an obstacle, defect. We've stopped there and labeled defect. Can we go past that? Then it's no longer an obstacle. It's no defect. It's just as it is, what's happening, based on causes, conditions, and the result, So that's our practice, It's not that we have to say, oh, they should practice this, they should do that. They got to change, they're behaving badly. It's our perception, because someone else might see it as wonderful activity, right? And you might say, but they're causing harm and this and that. Yeah, we might see that, But again, like the tip here, check out your mind. What's going on in the mind? That's what's always most important, not out here. What's happening in the mind? How are you relating to this? Agitated, criticizing, wanting it to be different, change, that critical mind, How strong is that habit, Again, doesn't mean, we're in relativity, conventional reality, so we do see harmful activity, virtuous activity, but we can, for us, our project is our mind, how we're relating to this. And can we, bodhicitta, can I open up, Instead of just going and getting a tunnel vision, we just see it like this, We don't see William, I don't see Brandon, I just see that doorway, and, But can we open up? Just for that pause, as you mentioned. Can we pause? Like I said, the breath, notice when you're sitting, if your breath, you're holding it just at your chest. Bring it down deeper. That's that practicing openness. Seeing, oh, I could open up a little bit more here. And open. There can be more openness. So change your attitude, remain natural. And remaining natural is so important, whatever you do, you know. Like I said, opening the door for someone, feeding the homeless, you know, whatever it is you do, washing grandma's car, remain natural. Do it in just this flow of your intention. I want to do something helpful. Okay, let that flow. Don't add to it with, but what if they don't like it? You know, what if they don't say thank you? You know, now there's a self, that self that has hope and fear, expectation. So change your attitude. Remain natural. Don't talk about injured limbs. Very simple, right? I think our parents probably told us that. Don't talk bad about people. If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all, right? You guys remember that? Right? And don't ponder others, you know, yeah. We have plenty of examples in our world. But as I mentioned again, it's our mind, how we're relating to it.